Okay, so welcome back again. Yesterday we had discussed something about our research methods which we use in psychology for the development of theories. Here in this part, remember this is a introductory chapter of entire book. So we haven't gone into the detail yet, but we will finish this chapter with this class. And the topic of today is ethics of psychological research. Ethical problems are there in psychology when we are conducting any research, such as any experiment or even with survey. There are so many ethical issues, and there have been happened many experiments. Many researchers have done so many experiments, but they were not in line with the ethics which is used in psychology, and that's why their research was rejected. What are the ethics, and what does this means? This means that when you are going to conduct any research, then there is a situation that what you can do and what you cannot do. Now, like we are conducting any research related to animals or related to human, then we have to make it sure that due to our experiment, that animal or the behavior of that person is not affected at all in their natural settings. There have been so many examples in the past that someone has carried some research, and due to that research someone got died, or his body parts were impaired, and so many other disorders or diseases that may be biological. In biology we call it as disease, and in psychology we call it as disorders. And one other thing, in biology we call patients, but in psychology we call client. Remember this, we will use client for the patient, because psychology doesn't assume that someone is if someone is coming to any psychologist or any psychiatrist, he is impaired with something. It may also happen that someone is feeling well and someone is doing well, but still he is going to some psychologist, and that's why they are referred as client. Here are some guidelines are given here for people who are doing research, and this chapter is this topic is not so much important with respect to the competitive exams, but it is very important for those who are going to appear in the exam of their graduation. So listen it carefully. You will need to remember the headings, although it's easy, but sometimes it gets hard to remember. First thing is, right and well-being of participant must be weighed against studies value to science. What are these rights? That is, we are conducting any research related to uh, something. It may be anything which we want to conduct any research. What the researcher thinks, he will try to make sure that his research is completed successfully and he have got the outcome whatever he required. But in doing so, You cannot deny the rights of persons, such as there are fundamental rights given in our constitution also, and there are also universal human rights declared by United Nations. So these are to be taken care of. You cannot violate any of the fundamental rights related to any person, and you should also know that there are also fundamental rights for animals, that is they are considered to be universal rights for everyone who is living on earth. So those rights are to be given priority over your study's value. Second thing is participants must be allowed to make an informed decision about participation. It has also been seen that some researcher has done some research, and he had not informed the participant uh, that what is the research about, and if during a reporting page of the experiment it is found that you have not informed your participant about your experiment, then it will lead to the rejection of your entire experiment. So you have to inform them. Sometimes it also happens that you cannot give the exact description of your experiment, because that may affect your experiment, that is it will work as a control variable. So in that condition too, you have to brief your participants as far as possible, not entirely, but should give at least minimum required information for the participation of the participants. Next one is deception must be justified. What is deception? Like earlier I talked that sometimes some experiments require that the information of the related to experiment, that how the experiment is going to be conducted, and what is the aim of experiment, this purpose is to be hidden, due to which the results can be rectified, or it cannot affect the uh, results. So if you are deceiving your participants, that is you are not giving your the details of your experiment to the participants, or you are falsifying the description of your experiment, or you are at all rejecting to give the information about your experiment to your participants, then too you have to justify the deception, that why did you hide the information in your experiment, that during your reporting page you have to justify that. Next thing is participants may withdraw from the study at any time. It's a problem with the researchers. It creates a very big problem for the researchers, that if the study is going to be conducted for 1 year or 2 years, then there is a great possibility that some of your participants may leave your research in between your experiment, and that may affect your results. But this is to be but the researcher has to bear this problem. No researcher can stop any participant from going out of the experiment or the study. It may also be possible that some researcher has taken a paper, and he has taken the sign of his participants that participants will not leave the study at any time in between the research, but that will also be rejected. You cannot do that. That's ethically wrong, and you cannot challenge that on the basis of the signature of the participants on that paper. Court will not accept it. Next one is participants must be protected from risks or told explicitly of the risk. If your experiment contains some contents which may be risky for the participants, that is it can damage someone physically or mentally, then you have to first told about the risks to the participants, and also you have to make sure that the risk is nullified and during your study. As far as possible, participants must be protected from any type of risk. Uh, Before conducting any study, all the participants are called for a general assembly, and they are told about the experiment. And here, the researcher should clearly, explicitly mention about the goals of the experiment and describe the experiment and how the experiment will be conducted, the method which they will adopt, etc. Data must remain confidential. That is, you cannot disclose the data of the participants to everyone. It should be confidential. Next one is if for any reason a study results in undesirable consequences for the participants, the researcher is responsible for detecting and removing or correcting these consequences. If something wrong happens with any participants during the study, it's a sole responsibility of the researcher to compensate him in every way, not in any way, but in every way. So that's the end of this chapter. Something else is given here. Applying psychology to everyday life, but it's not part of your syllabus, so I'm leaving it. You may, if you are interested, you may read this. And this is about critical thinking, that what how you can make your personality better if you are applying critical thinking to every aspect of your life. That's an important part of the psychology. So that's it with this class. This was not a very long class, and tomorrow we will be studying about biological perspective in psychology, and here we will study about the nervous system and our glands. Remember, something is different from biology in psychology. We are talking about biological perspective, but it is not same as the biology. We will study deeply about the nervous system, about our glands, and nervous system. In nervous system we are going to study about the transmitters. So they may be inhibitors or exhibitors, etc. So don't think that this is pure biology. Of course this is pure biology, but we will study in detail. There is something which may be new for you if you are from biology background. So that's it.